All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Braun. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at Capital Region Land Conservancy. I am happy to welcome you all here tonight. This is actually a re-recording of just the opening. We forgot to press record, so I'm including that here now. And then the main talk for tonight was recorded in time, and the discussion and activity are included in that as well. But just for this first part, this is me recording after the fact. Welcome to Growing Virginia's Native Grasslands. This is the Team Fields Learning webinar, and we are co-hosting this event with the Clifton Institute, and this event is sponsored by Ingle Family Farms. I just wanted to share a little bit about Capital Region Land Conservancy. CRLC's mission is to conserve and protect the natural and historic land and water resources of Virginia's capital region for the benefit of current and future generations. CRLC works with landowners to protect private lands, in many cases, including farms, working forestry lands, and open space easements to protect scenic view sheds, and land for trails and public parks as well. And you can see from this map here, CRLC works in the city of Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield, Powhatan, Goochland, Hanover, New Kent, and Charles City. And since CRLC was founded, we have helped protect over 13,000 acres in our region. And as the local land trust, we have built countless connections across the region, helping folks to protect their land. And of course, this talk is part of the 2022 Conservation Games. The Conservation Games are a 3-week-long celebration of local conservation. And throughout the games, folks can join teams, team fields, team forests, or team streams, and then participate in volunteer learning, fundraising, or celebration events to earn points for their team. Just by registering for a team, you've already earned 10 points. And then by attending this talk, you'll earn 75 points for your team. Every dollar donated to your team counts for 1 point. And for any event run by CRLC, we will automatically have a record of your participation. So if you are participating live in this event, we'll know. If you are watching this recording after the fact, send me an email at games@capitalregionland.org, and just let me know that you watched the recording, and I'll make sure that you get credit. Also, send me an email if you attend a volunteer event or another community event run by another one of our partner nonprofits. We love the collaboration. We love you guys getting out there to participate in all these events, whether they're run by CRLC or someone else. So if you do that, let me know and you'll get credit. You'll get 50 points for participating in those. And if you share on social media, you can earn 25 points. But you just gotta let me know. I have an update on the current standing of our teams in the Conservation Games. Thanks to the Team Forest webinar, which had 70 people attend earlier this week, Team Forest is well in the lead with over 10,000 points. And periodically, I'll send out current standing updates, and we have several events still coming up, so it really is anyone's game. At this point, donations are rolling in, but donations can make a really big difference when it comes to the final results. Also, anytime you post on social media or attend a community event, sending in those extra points can make a big difference as well. I also wanted to introduce Team Fields. This is the Team Fields webinar. And to do that, I just have a little video I'd like to share, and I hope you all enjoy.
We are Team Fields. We are farmers, history buffs, food justice activists, and nature lovers. We believe in open spaces, wildflowers, and grasslands, and the relationship with the earth that someone who grows their own food knows best. While Virginia's farmland statewide covers about 7.8 million acres, we are losing farmland to sprawling development at a rapid pace. Agriculture is Virginia's biggest private industry by far, outpacing tourism significantly. Every job in agriculture and forestry supports 1.7 jobs elsewhere in Virginia's economy. CRLC assists farmers in keeping their farmland in production despite the threat of development around them. Many farms are some of the last open spaces left in their area and often hold the stories of long ago fought battles from the Civil War, Revolutionary War, and even the War of 1812. Team Fields is committed to protecting our region's most significant battlefields. This past year, Capital Region Land Conservancy received a gift of 28 acres at 4 Mile Creek Farm through the generosity of Varina resident Howard Everly. Located within the core of Newmarket Heights battlefield, this land has been saved for historic preservation and future public access. Capital Region Land Conservancy also transferred 371 acres to the National Park Service at Malvern Hill. Meanwhile, we've begun work on restoring native grasslands at Varina LandLab at Deep Bottom that are in great need of our help. Team Fields is proud to support our grasslands, farming fields, and open spaces in Capital Region Land Conservancy's 2022 Conservation Games.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Megan Nolde, who put together that video for us. Megan is the Operation and Grants Manager at Capital Region Land Conservancy, and also has some great video editing skills. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for this presentation. Bert Harris is the Executive Director of the Clifton Institute. He has a long background in research ecology, and he is also a professor of ecology at George Mason University and American University. And we're lucky to have him share with us about this, about our native grasslands and the work that's happening to restore them across Virginia. As I said before, we started recording this webinar a little bit late, and so the beginning portion of Bert Harris's talk was cut off, but the majority of it is there, and the presentation by my coworker Ashley Moulton about our work at Varina LandLab is included as well, and then we'll wrap up with questions and an activity to identify some native plants. So, thank you.
And so, as I've sort of hinted, we now know what should be what these grasslands are made of. We know which species are found there, and therefore we have an idea of what people might want to plant in wildflower meadows if they're trying to restore high quality grasslands. The problem is that many of the species that we found commonly in these grasslands, and they tend to be good for pollinators and beautiful as well, they are unavailable from seed companies. And if they are available, they have genetics from other states. And so they are too tall or too short, or they bloom at the wrong time, or they might even be the wrong species. So there's a huge need for Virginia ecotype seeds. And we are working with a lot of partners, especially Virginia State University and the Department of Conservation and Recreation, but with a lot of other partners as well, the most important of which are listed here, to launch the native seed industry in the state. And the idea is that we are going to be collecting seeds of 18 species. We're growing seedlings in greenhouses, and then we're working with farmers to plant out monocultures to produce seeds on farmers' fields. And the goal is for this to be a new high-value crop for underserved farmers. And together with our partners, we applied for and recently received a $200,000 conservation innovation grant from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is really fantastic news. And with this funding, we have been able to hire a native seed project coordinator for this project. And he has the job of launching this really complicated project, and he only has 2 years to do it. So, you can root for Isaac. And as a part of this, we're going to be building a new greenhouse at Clifton. And Virginia State University is going to be receiving $50,000 of the grant to work on this project, to set up a demonstration planting, to grow seedlings, and most importantly, to work with their network of farmers. Right, just a second. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm almost done here. So that is the Native Seed Project. And now on to land management. So, very briefly, this is really material for a whole nother presentation. But if you would like to do restoration on your land, the first thing to remember is that the original site is the top priority. So these reference sites that we've identified are really important, full of lots of species and rare plants. And these sites are really irreplaceable, so we really have to work hard to manage them as best we can. But if you have a field on your property and there aren't very many native plants growing there, you have a few different options. And ideally, you want to meet with either with Marie Norwood, who is our land management outreach associate, or with NRCS, a private lands biologist, to get some advice on how to proceed. It's really not simple at all. So, like I say, there are various options. So if you have a field that is, say, 3/4 natives and 1/4 non-native, the goal there is just to get the non-natives out of the way, and you probably don't need to plant anything. On the other hand, if you have a field that's dominated by non-natives, you probably are going to want to kill everything that's there and then replant it with natives. And this process takes a couple of years and a lot of patience, and it's really good to have expert advice. So like I mentioned, NRCS and the private lands biologists are great resources. And so is Marie Norwood. I'll put her email address up. So she is our land management outreach associate, and she last year visited over 100 landowners to advise them on land management with a focus on meadow restoration. I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bert. I think.
Is it still sharing?
I think we stopped sharing, and we can start sharing Ashley's slides again. Just be a second. Yeah. Can you all see this all right?
I can.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Take it away, Ashley.
Okay. Hi, everyone. That was a great talk by Bert about the work they've been doing at the Clifton Institute. I want to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Moulton, and I work for the Capital Region Land Conservancy as their land conservation specialist. I want to talk to you guys tonight about my baby. It's 350 acres, about 25 minutes outside of Richmond, that is going to be open to the public very soon. By very soon, we are talking about either late 2022 or sometime early 2023. Why I'm so excited to talk to you guys about it tonight is that it's going to be a really great place for you guys people in Richmond area and surrounding counties to go explore an ecological restoration site for grassland restoration and native plant restoration. Also, we're going to have lots of other cool things going on in this space, including a lot of tours and nature walks and opportunities to get outside and for the local community to learn about the world outside. Oh, I guess I should tell you guys the location of this 350 acres is off the Capitol Trail, right next to Deep Bottom Park, which you can kind of see on the very bottom right of that map in the corner. So the property was forested before it was donated to us in 2017, and then replanted in loblolly pine trees. Usually that might deter someone from thinking about what the future could be for the site, but for us, we're really excited about this opportunity to restore some native grasslands and some pine savannas in the Richmond area. I can see on this map here on the left, what you see there is a loblolly pine savanna, or a pine savanna. You can see that it's actually has grasses growing underneath the trees, and they actually call this a type of grassland. It's just a low tree density kind of grassland. So we're gonna, over time, thin these pine trees out that were planted on the property, and also conduct some prescribed burns every couple of years to mimic natural fire regimes that would happen in nature. This will also help us preserve some of the historical resources on the property. Prescribed burns are currently used in Malvern Hill in Henrico to kind of manage some of their battlefields. So we're real excited about this project. Also, we're really excited about this project. Oh, you can push the buttons, Peter. I guess I didn't get that flying in. But we have some cool birds already on the property. You can click it. We have prairie warblers we've been hearing on the property, as well as in the winter months, we've been seeing a northern harrier, or a couple of them, hunts on the tops of the grasses in some of the areas that were not planted in pine trees. So we're hoping to make us a birder's paradise, if you will, in coming years. And why we just decided to really highlight birding on this property is because it's one of the Audubon's designated important birding areas. It's actually one of the closest ones to Richmond City. It's called the Lower James area. You can click again. Okay, cool. So I've only been in charge of this property for about a year now, and I've already documented 200 species of plants. What's really cool about this property is that it has a lot going on already with it. It doesn't need a full nuking of the site with chemicals, because it's not, that never been planted in fescue or orchard grass for haying. The majority of the site is that yellow grass you saw on the previous slide, which was called broom sedge. And I've actually found a bunch of other native species, which you can see on the right here. If you guys are coming out on Saturday for the team, is it Fields volunteer event? Yeah, Team Fields. I don't know, Peter. No, team. I don't know which team it is, but we're going to be at the site and planting some river oats near the river edge, and also doing some invasive management. So you might be able to see some of these flowers late season. And this is what we dreamed some of the future for the property once we can get some grant money, is to have some birding platforms. The property is bordered by streams on both sides, one of which being 4 Mile Creek. And we envision having a platform like the bottom left available for people to look down from the property and look for birds. We also are using the site for the Virginia Native Seed Project with Bert, and also trying to use it as a demonstration site for the public for sustainable land management practices. We can go to the next slide. So there's a total of 18 species that a couple working groups have developed for seed collection in Virginia throughout the whole state. A total of 7 of the 18 are already occurring at the Varina LandLab. It is really exciting. So we are already underway collecting some of these seeds and going to be shipping them off, I guess, later this fall, to get them grown out at a greenhouse at the Clifton Institute. They're all very beautiful plants. And then we can click. With that, if you have any questions from the audience. Oh, Sarah Richardson asked a great question. Let me see. I have a question for Bert. I can't see the chat right away. Let me go find it.
So
Someone said, yeah, so we still don't know much about coastal plain grasslands. Are not as, I guess, famous, right, Bert, as the Piedmont ones are, but they definitely exist. I worked on some of the coastal plain grasslands for my master's degree. So they are not, I guess, as infamous as the Piedmont ones in diversity.
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't studied them, but I do know that, for example, Diganthelium, which is like one of the scariest plant genera out there, it's perfect for Halloween, you know,
Yeah.
because it's probably the hardest genus of plants to identify in the whole state, and the coastal plain is where they reach their apex of diversity, and so you get like 30 species in one site or something crazy like that. So, and I know, yeah, there are some really diverse power line clearings in the coastal plain.
I mean, the fact that some of these species, Bert was like, has been highlighting in his presentation, such as the Lespedeza, the native Lespedeza we see at our property already, and downy lobelia, which is another kind of prairie-like. It's just not a Piedmont prairie, it'd be a coastal prairie system. We got another question from.
well, and Ashley, this is Parker, and
Yeah.
my understanding is that the pine savanna is actually one of the primary grassland for the coastal plain.
And yes, and that is also another goal for the property, to have that habitat too, which I think we're really excited. We'll be having a prescribed burn sometime soon in the future, and we're really excited to see what species pop up on the property after we add the disturbance regime back to the site. We got a question from horse8pony at AOL.com. What are the 18 species of plants that seeds are being collected from? Do you want to go back to my slide, Peter, to show a couple of them, and then maybe Bert can name a couple top of his head? I saw lyre leaf sage on there the other day. Field thistle.
I can try sharing again if that's
Liatris pilosa, gay feather. Here we go. You got narrowleaf mountain mint, a helmet skullcap, common milkweed, gray goldenrod, yellow false indigo, panicle leaf tick trefoil. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Bert, can you remember any other ones?
Yep, I'm looking at the list. Upland ironweed, purple top, and little blue stem are the two grasses. Late purple aster and calico aster. Helmet skullcap, which we both mentioned a couple times, and rose pink and smooth beard tongue, and Maryland golden aster. That's it. I think that's all 18.
I think that I didn't have room to fit the pink on here because it was just a nice 6 setup, but we also seen the pink on it. Mark, great question. We still have to do a lot of work preparing the site. We did plant some seeds already on the property after we did some ditch restoration work, and some stuff has been coming up. But we are trying to stay away from seeds from out of state if possible. We're trying to get stuff that are local to Virginia. My question for Bert is, what is the difference between a savanna and a grassland?
Sure. Yeah. So I think so. We talk about a gradient from forest to woodland to savanna to grassland, and so forest is a closed canopy. A woodland is widely spaced trees, but close to a forest but wider spaced. A savanna is really widely spaced trees if you think of like the African savanna, and then a grassland has almost no trees. That's how and then prairie, if you look in the Florida, Virginia, the definition of prairie is identical to that of a grassland. So people think of prairies as like, unbroken, like thousands of acres, but actually, at least according to the Florida, Virginia, that you can have really small prairies.
And to add to Mark, I guess for the Virginia Native Seed Project, our goal for Varina LandLab is to collect the seeds. less so than planting them on the property. We might eventually buy some of the seeds once they're available commercially from these farmers 2 years from now, potentially. But there's gonna be seeds planted throughout the whole process. I think we're trying to right now understand what can come up naturally after fire.
But I would add to that we're really lucky to have the involvement of your organization, because obviously we're up in the northern Piedmont, and this project is depending on lots of partners from all over the state, and it's really great to have your experience and Ashley's expertise, on this. So
We're happy to be a part of it. And then any other questions from people before we go to our interactive activity?
I think you're good
Don't
to go
think
ahead.
so. Okay, Peter, can you share, or we can just go do this because we're doing camera, right?
Yes.
So did anyone bring any native plants they want identified?
Ashley, is your camera on?
Yes.
Okay.
It's weird when you're in this spotlight thing, if your camera comes up or not. I guess me and Bert have brought some plants to show you. Oh, I want to see if anyone in the crowd knows these plants. Do I start with easy or hard first? Let's go with easier. This is one we talked about in the presentation today. The grass that gets about 5 feet tall, full sun, and apparently Short Pump is full of this grass. Any guesses from anyone?
Broom sedge.
Good guess. I think that was Carson, maybe. Oh, Sarah Sinclair knows her grasses. Indian grass. Good job, Sarah. I think you should, if you get any of these plants right, make sure you keep track, because you get maybe points, I think, for your team afterwards. Next one. Really hard to see here. It's another one of the prairie grass species that we're talked about today in the talk. Let's see if I'm getting closer. We'll give it maybe a couple more seconds. I don't have, well, maybe I do have the other one here. Blue stem. Ooh.
Actually, we see you more than we see the plant.
That
one's
a very hard one. Good job, horse ate pony. It's little blue stem.
this is another example. I don't know if you're able to see that. The key with little blue stem versus broom sedge is that little blue stem has these little rows of seeds instead of huge cottony fluffy seeds. That's what broom sedge has got.
Maybe that's a little better. You can
Yeah,
kind of
that's
see.
perfect.
I try to get my lighting real good. And then I'll give you a hint what this could be. It's not its fully, the inflorescence is the flowering stuff, the little fluffy stuff is not completely, out yet. Do you have any guesses in the chat what this is?
Did you find that growing wild where you are?
It's all over the place in Richmond.
That's cool. Yeah, we don't have it up here.
So that's cool. Like in the city of Richmond, you can find it on my sidewalk and stuff. Oh, someone uses picture this. Oh, Saxby Road. One of our easements. This is broom sedge. Sarah Richardson knows. Good job. This is specifically a split beard broom sedge, which has a really cool feathery inflorescence. It's not completely popped yet. Wait, I have one right up here in a bouquet. Let me grab it for you guys. You can see it when it pops open. It's super cool. Look how neat that looks. Super
That's
neat.
cool.
All right. And here, one more grass for you guys. I'm doing the hard stuff first for you guys. This one's really cool. I don't know if anyone will know it. There's 2 of them that we see in Richmond a lot of this type. This is also found at a lot. It's about a foot tall. It's called a purple love grass. You got some grasses too, Bert?
Yeah, I got 2 more. I got 2 grasses. Might as well get them over with.
Grass. Just hold it real still and try to get your face off the camera so people can see it real well. Love grass. Good job, Sarah.
This is purple top. This is Tridens flavus, and Purple top looks a bit different, I think, up here than it does where you are. But anyway, this is it. And you can tell it's kind of greasy and it's beautiful purple. Like it's past its peak here now, but you know, a few weeks ago, the fields were just beautiful purple. That one.
Yeah, I get red top, purple top confused, but I know purple top's the greasy one. Or I don't even know if there's a red top.
Can you all see that?
There we go. I definitely have seen that in the woods.
Yeah, so I can't see the chat, but.
Oh, grease grass. Yes, that is correct, Sarah. That's another common name for it. The one he just showed previously. That one, what did it kind of look like? What kind of animal tail did that look like?
Oh no, that's not what it is.
That's not? Oh, I'm getting stumped. Stumped the botanist game. Well, then it's the other one. Okay.
This is Virginia wild rye. It's hard to tell. It does look kind of like foxtail. Yeah.
I'm surprised I've been getting and guessing foxtail. There's not a lot of native foxtails from my understanding. Is that all your grasses you got?
Yeah.
Okay, what do I got in my pot here? I got or my bouquet. Anyone know what this one is? Let me go grab the white piece of paper so people can see the divided leaves and the white flower. Getting water on my laptop. This one blooms throughout. Actually has one of the longest bloom periods of a lot of the Virginia native plants, if you look at the flora of Virginia. Mark, good guess. This is our native version of that, if you will. It's in the carrot family, right? This is yarrow, Achilla milleforium, or it might have changed.
I think it's actually in the aster family, even though it looks like it should be a carrot.
There we go. Divided leaves in the aster family. Here's another one that's white that you might get it confused with. You can see the leaves.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. Yeah.
Ooh, Sarah Sinclair knows her stuff. Yes, it's in the thoroughwort family or eupatorium family. What's unique about this one? It's very, how would you describe those leaves, even people who don't know what a thoroughwort is? There we go. This one's called hyssop leaf thoroughwort. Most of them have more broad looking leaves. Broad like this very sad looking aster. Did not go well post cutting at 3 o'clock. But this kind of looks like a sunflower, right, guys? I think a common name for this is false sunflower.
I've got a similar one.
Oh, is yours the same as mine?
This one is Bidens aristosa, the
Cool.
what do they call it? The showy tick seed or something, you know. And yeah, these are again, like at least where we are, they were in full bloom like a few weeks ago, but
Ours is like not a couple weeks now. Oh, Parker has a question. Go ahead, Parker. Unmute yourself.
Okay, so the question that I have, so Bert mentioned the grasslands and the bison. So, you know, let's assume that that this is thriving and we're seeing native grasslands coming back. Can we still have our livestock in these kind of pastures and feeding on all of this and that be part of our farming operation, or is this the kind of plant type that may not be consumed by, you know, your cattle or your sheep or whatnot?
I'm gonna have Bert answer this question, even though I have an answer for it, because he specializes in
practices. So you know, we predicted that we would find the most diverse grasslands in old pastures and old fields. Compared to power line clearings, we found that that was not the case. So we, you know, basically, you know, old school overgrazing of fescue pastures and repeated cutting hay. A lot of native plants can't deal with that kind of abuse. So if you really graze it really hard or you cut it a lot of hay, it's not really compatible, it seems like, with the natives. But I think that there's definitely an important role of cattle, and maybe cutting hay also, in grassland conservation. Because the thing is that when you plant a wildflower meadow, you usually lose a lot of the rare grassland birds. They want it really short, so they actually prefer fescue fields, to native grasslands. And the problem there, I think, and we're still, this is still an area of research that we're doing with Virginia Working Landscapes. We want to find out if you can use cows to graze native meadows and then get them back to a good structure for rare grassland birds, but then also have the high plant diversity and have the pollinators all together. And it seems like the best way to do that is going to be with cattle, but you're not going to be grazing it. You're not going to be overgrazing it. You're going to have to do it carefully, which a lot of people are doing now, but not on natives in the eastern U.S. They do it in the Midwest and it works well. And so, yeah, I think there, it's definitely an area of where we should be headed, but there aren't a lot of examples of it being done yet.
I've
Taking more
attended
land for rotational grazing.
I've attended NRCS talk when I first met Bob Glennon like 10 years ago, which is our local area private lands biologist. I mean, he was talking about foraging grasses, native grasses for cows. It's done, maybe on a pure like monocot of like certain grass species. I don't know how palatable Indian grass is, top of my head, but it's done. But the question is how do you get diversity though with the cows, and that needs to be teased out a little bit more.
Yeah, I would just follow up real briefly that, like she says, you can convert a quarter of your fescue fields into monocultures of native grasses. So you could plant a quarter of your fescue field in like straight Indian grass or straight little blue stem, and you put the cows there in the summer and they eat it when the fescue is not producing much forage, and that works really well for the cat. The cattle gain more weight, and you provide some habitat. But as she says, it's really not a very diverse field, and so the goal is to try to get a diverse one.
We got a question from Megan. Are there any ways that someone with a small backyard can help this cause? Is that too small for planting native grasses and flower meadows? Well, I want to make sure people are aware of a really great book author right now named Doug Tallamy, who's been an entomologist from the University of Maryland, who is talking about everyone's potential contribution to helping solve some biodiversity crisis we're experiencing by planting native plants in their backyards. So we can, I think the size of lawns in Virginia or in the US is the size of, what was it, the Mid-Atlantic. So people can do their part by planting native plants. And I think that would make a new national park basically in people's backyards. Is kind of what his philosophy is about people planting natives. Great question, Megan. I got some weird bug on me, so I was trying to seek it from this goldenrod. Oh shoot, I gave the answer. But it's really unique. Like, I wish I could show you it. We are doing it within City of Richmond limits. We encourage people, even surrounding counties, to do it too. What do you got there?
So this one, what kind of goldenrod have you got? Is that like a tall goldenrod or something?
Good question.
Is the
Yeah,
stem
I think so.
rough? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so the goldenrods, the flowers all look the same basically. I mean, except for a few. Most of the flowers look the same. So the leaves and the stems are important when you want to try to identify goldenrods. And this is really, yeah, I mean, it may not be for everybody, goldenrod identification, but anyway, they're really important. They're the most important genus of plants for native bees. There are more specialist native bees on goldenrod than any other plant. So they really are awesome. This one is gray goldenrod, so this is one of the ones that we're working on with the seed project. And you can tell it because its leaves are kind of sandpapery feeling, and it's a really short one. It only gets to be about 3 feet tall.
I hesitated on that because I have gray goldenrod in my yard, but I definitely grabbed it from my tall goldenrod. But yeah, you can definitely tell the difference. There's a lot of diversity of goldenrods in Virginia, surprising amount. I have one more yellow guy. He's a little bit different than the other yellow guys we're seeing. And look at these weird seed heads coming together. I doubt anyone is going to guess this one, but maybe Bert can tell us what it is.
Yeah, it looks like world rosinweed. That's a beauty. Those like really scaly sepal things. Yeah.
Joey, the state plant ecologist, gave me some seeds a couple years ago, and that's what happened from here. What invasive species you don't encourage growing? I think we could put a link in here from the Department of Conservation Recreation of lists that list current plants that are considered invasive in Virginia, but does not have any legal authority on stopping the sale or preventing people from planting them. But ones that are common in the horticulture industry include English ivy, spirea, was it Japanese spirea? That honeysuckle you ate as a kid, the yellow or the kind of golden color flowers, that's an invasive species. I think there's more probably stuff in our backyards currently that are invasive than are on the shelf, maybe. I would say in some areas that are really disturbed, like privet bush, is for sale, but it's already in your backyard probably. But yeah, there's a list of at least, I think, 80 species. So if I have a chance, I'll try to add that to the chat. Bert, do you have any other ones you want to add?
Well, unfortunately, autumn olive is still for sale in a few nurseries in Virginia, but that's not a not a lot of people are buying that anymore. But burning bush is one that's still commonly sold in nurseries, and that can be a huge problem depending on where you are. And there are a lot of, like Doug Tallamy's book, it really is essential reading, the Bringing Nature Home, and he gives alternatives. So if you really want a burning bush, he gives alternatives for natives that are similar,
I'm gonna put a link to that book real fast. Oh, gonna be an Amazon link, guys. I'm so sorry. Close. Oh, can't get to the chat. Here we go. Any other questions we have? We have 1 minute left. Maybe Peter, do you want to take over the show and show what's coming up for the conservation games?
Yeah, I think Parker is gonna close us out with just a few updates or upcoming events.
Well, first, let me just thank Bert Harris again from the Clifton Institute for joining us tonight and talking about the work that they're doing in the partnership. And thank you, Ashley, for sharing what the Varina LandLab is and the plans for it and how we're collaborating on some of the work with the native grasslands and the seed collections. Very important work. And I think it should not be lost that Virginia State University, as one of the 2 land grant colleges here, is playing a major role. And as Bert mentioned, this is an effort to help farmers establish a higher yielding, and when we say yielding, net profit type of crop that they can grow, and it can be done on a smaller farm scale. So it's a great thing for the minority farmers who we can help to make a better living. So thank you for that. We do have some additional programming coming up, and I just want to acknowledge that next week on Tuesday, October the 11th, we are going to be featuring the Team Streams webinar at 7 p.m. And this is with Wetlands Watch and Mary Carson Stiff, who will be talking about sea level rise and how our wetlands are also at risk and what will be happening with marsh migration. And we often do not think of Richmond as being part of the coastal plain and sea level rise, but we are going to be experiencing just as much, particularly in places like Eastern Henrico and along the Chickahominy River. So we're watching that, and I appreciate you all attending and learning more about the effects there. And Peter, if you go to the next slide. We also want to remind everybody, come down on October the 16th. We're going to be at Virginia State University, and we are going to be at a land that we have just protected, about 40 acres of land and islands along the Appomattox River. We'll be hosting guided tours of the property. We'll be having a celebration with live music from Will Overman. We will be having guest presentation, and we will also just be there in general to celebrate the end of the conservation games and to announce the winning team. We are at the end of the first week, and I can tell you from this being the third year that the games can change day to day, and we still have plenty of time for the leaderboard. So let's keep the games going. We would like to thank Ingle Family Farms for being the official sponsor of Team Fields. And again, this was the webinar that was here for Team Fields. And Peter, if you go to all of our sponsors page. Thank you. Also, our other sponsors, we have Davy Mitigation, who has been sponsoring for Team Forest, RES, which is Resource Environmental Solutions, who has been sponsoring Team Streams, as well as our steward sponsors, Historic Tuckahoe, Leasefield Contractor, Virginia State University, Colonial Farm Credit, and our conservatives, Primus Bank, Luckstone, Canal Capital Management, Virginia Outdoors Foundation, Camp Holly Springs, and WRIR Radio. We really appreciate you all joining us tonight. We hope that you have learned something about native grasses. I certainly was watching two botanists really kind of go toe to toe, kind of this battle of plant species. It's rather interesting and fascinating to see. So thank you all very much, and get out. There's still plenty of time. If you have not received your latest team email or CRLC's email e-newsletter, there are more and more opportunities to engage. We have self-guided opportunities. I want to thank CRLC's staff for really putting in the effort with the conservation games, Peter Braun for being our referee, and Ashley for helping with tonight's programming. We will see you on Saturday. Also, Ashley, do you want to say something? Is that a minute? What is it?
I got one more plant to show you guys. This is one that Bert was talking about maybe during presentation. This is from Richmond area, and you can find this plant on the Varina LandLab. Anyone know what it is by the flowers? I don't have the chat open. Ironweed. Okay, that's a purple native plant. Good guess. It's only. The genus starts with an L. Good job, Daniel Hartshow. Good job. Lobelia. So it's a type of lobelia species that you can find in grasslands. Like usually lobelias, you think of them being in moist wetlands and stuff, but this one's one you can find in drier locations, full sun to part sun. It's one I was growing in a pot, so it's in bloom right now. So you might find it on the roadside. Guys, I'm excited for you guys while you continue to learn more about plants and our natural world, and I hope to see you at some of the more of the conservation game events coming soon.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Go all teams. Let's lend a hand. Let's protect our earth and ensure that all plants have a viable future.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.